My wife's emotional affair left me broken and confused. I married you because my friends pressured me, she confessed. Now, with divorce looming, she suddenly claims, I see the error of my ways. Can a few days of kindness erase 3 years of meanness? I am a 24-year-old male and my wife is a 27-year-old female. We met at a college club. We would kiss in my car until around 4 a.m. on school nights, and we seemed to agree on almost everything, even though we occasionally argued. Both of us tend to be argumentative. I believed we were in love. We married in late 2021 after dating for a year and being engaged for 6 months. Her family is fantastic and extremely supportive. My family, however, is hesitant. I love my family. She clearly does not. Before we married, we attended premarital counseling where it was hinted that she thought I was overweight. I was. I stood 6 feet 2 inches tall, weighed 250 pounds, had 26% body fat, and had been that way for the entire time. She also expressed that she did not think she could love me if that continued to be the case. We discussed this with our pastor and his wife, who served as our counselors, and they provided a reasonable response, but she did not agree. I suggested, perhaps we should postpone the wedding so we can address this issue. It is usually the matters left unresolved in counseling that come back to haunt you. She acknowledged that it might be wise but insisted that we should proceed and that she would simply get over it. I loved her, so I agreed. The wedding was beautiful. We waited until marriage for sexual intimacy. After that, we delayed further. She did not want to engage in sexual relations, stating I was too unattractive. She had never had sexual relations before and was also my first kiss. For the first 6 months of our marriage, we did not have sexual intercourse. We engaged in some digital actions and perhaps oral sex, but even those activities ceased after a few months. Eventually, I realized I needed to make a change. I enlisted in the Army National Guard and attended basic training and advanced individual training (AIT) to become a parachute rigger. On graduation day from basic training, we had sexual intercourse for the first time. I had lost nearly 40 pounds by then. When I took off my shirt, her initial reaction was a frown followed by the comment, I thought it would be different. I felt defeated. I graduated from AIT and Army Airborne School Basic Paratrooper School and returned to Texas in the best shape of my life. Yet that was still insufficient. We had sexual intercourse perhaps once a month or once every other month, and each time it was evident she did not want to be present. Sometimes she cried during or after. I stopped asking for intimacy. As I write this, we have been married for nearly 3 years and 6 months exactly, and have engaged in sexual relations just 25 times. Throughout this entire period, and even before, she frequently tells me that I am unattractive and too overweight. She claims I am not masculine, asserting that my ambitions are too domestic, referring to my desire to retire as a public school teacher or to run a small business like a game store. She believes I am not committed to the Army or later to law enforcement. Therefore, she perceives me as lacking masculinity. After returning from AIT, we secured our first real apartment together, and shortly thereafter I fell into a deep depression. I wanted to end my life. I told her it was her fault, that was cruel and I should not have done that. She recognized that she had been unkind to me and apologized, but then her behavior did not change. I quickly overcame my suicidal feelings but continued to express my love for her. I managed all the bills, cooked for her, cleaned, got her a cat, watched her favorite shows, and listened when she spoke. We cycled through periods of turmoil and reconciliation. I suggested we should seek professional help, but she replied no, that would be embarrassing. At the very least, we should inform our friends that we are struggling and seek outside assistance. No, she responded, citing the same reason. After about a year, we finally confided in our friends regarding our issues. Her friends and mine indicated that it was somewhat her fault. They acknowledged my improved physical condition and deemed her criticisms of me unfair, even when I was not in good shape. She even conceded that I was a good husband. This led her to feel as though everyone was ganging up on her. I asked her what changed between now and when we were dating. She replied, "Husband, I have always felt this way. We were never in love in that manner, at least I did not think so." I responded, "Then why did you marry me?" She stated, "Because my friends and family pressured me to. You were a good guy. They said that love can come after marriage." Despite all this, we have experienced enjoyable moments together. We share countless core memories, both positive and negative. Nevertheless, I began to act out. I raised my voice at her. I never threatened her or became physical, but I yelled. I am larger than she is, and even if that were not the case, I am stronger. It was wrong of me. However, I maintained this behavior for an extended period. Another year passed and both of us earned our degrees. With my degree, I also received a commission to become a United States Army officer as I joined my school's Reserve Officers Training Corps ROTC program. Around this time, she casually mentioned that if she were not Christian, she would have divorced me by now. "What?" I replied. Then I agreed with her. She looked heartbroken. Suddenly, significant walls were built. I suggested we speak to our families and other mature Christians about our issues again. This time, she agreed. They all believed she was the problem. She felt increasingly isolated. She became depressed. I did too. She started a habit of house selfing. She would spend several days acting like a servant, not voicing her opinions and solely engaging in activities I preferred. I told her, that is not productive. No one, including myself, has advised you to do that. She responded, it is called trying, and I am trying. Eventually, she would crash and revert to being unkind and miserable for the latter half of the week before restarting the cycle. It felt like a waste of time. I informed her that I wanted a divorce. She was taken aback and disagreed. I gave it a day. After consulting my pastor, I returned and apologized. She became angry that I hadn't followed through with the divorce. I felt confused. We began marital counseling with our pastor and his wife in January 2025. They quickly encouraged me to stop raising my voice toward her, and they swiftly identified her as the problem. She wanted to cease attending counseling almost immediately. Things worsened. I faced constant shaming from my wife. I was too overweight, too unattractive, too feminine, and too passive. I retreated into my hobbies because at least there I could experience success. I proposed divorce again, more seriously this time, and received the same reaction. No, how could you? Okay, then let's not. You idiot, clearly I wanted a divorce. I asked her to remove the option of divorce from the conversation entirely and commit to addressing our issues. She claimed she could not remove divorce as an option. She became despondent until I agreed to consider it as a potential option again. She eventually disclosed to me that she had an emotional affair between late January and early February lasting a few weeks. I refrained from asking for any specifics and offered instant forgiveness. A friend of hers called me and suggested, you should ask for details. I did so politely, stating, our pastor will probably request details during our next counseling session. We should work it out between us first so that he doesn't get a live reaction from me. She disagreed. She built up walls. After hours of attempting to get her to discuss it, she eventually opened up. While we were engaged in counseling, she had a brief affair with a coworker. They held hands while walking through the park and discussing their feelings. They went on dates and exchanged kisses on the forehead and cheek. I thought to myself, oh man, that's bad, but I suppose I still forgive you. It's not like you both kissed on the lips or anything, right? She agreed, but seemed evasive. I pressed further, and it turned out he had kissed her neck. I left for a while to go to the gym. Upon returning, I forgave her and sought to move forward. I was done contemplating divorce. I told her she could not communicate with him anymore, especially outside of work. Why? She asked. Because you just cheated on me with him. Why are you punishing me for this? I have already punished myself for the last few days. What? I urged her to move past it and establish that boundary. She eventually agreed after about a week. During counseling, the pastor and his wife were caught completely off guard. She felt as if she were being attacked and did not want to continue attending counseling anymore. I had to share the details of the situation, as she was uninterested in disclosing them to the counselors. I experienced a breakdown at home. I cried to her about all these issues that seemed to matter little to her, including how she treats me. She listened. At the end of our conversation, she said, I am so sorry, husband, you are someone deserving of love, and I have not been treating you in that manner. What, really? She became the ideal wife for 24 hours, then stopped. She claimed it was difficult to sustain that behavior. I was heartbroken. The weeks went by with no change from her. I asked her why not. She replied, husband, I just cheated on you. What makes you think I would be in the mindset to change? Give me some time. We began discussing divorce once more. Last Friday, April 18, 2025, we drove to Oklahoma to spend Easter weekend with friends. During the drive, we talked about divorce. Just like that, all the depression and anger evaporated from her. She laughed at my jokes again. She was happy. We discussed the lessons we had learned from our marriage and the qualities we would seek in future partners. It was blissful and lasted the entire time we were there. The next day, we drove back to Texas. On the way, she became upset and sad again. Are we still getting a divorce? I inquired. No, obviously not. She seemed incredulous that I would even ask. I expressed my frustration with living in limbo, stating, either remove divorce entirely from consideration or let us file. I cannot do either with a clear conscience. Fine. I filed for divorce this Monday. The fee was $350 in Texas, and I must wait 61 days. Outrageous. I informed my family and friends about the affair. I had previously kept it a secret for her. They all urged me to get a divorce. My friends encouraged me to leave. Her friends advised her to divorce me. Her therapist recommended divorce. Initially, our pastor and his wife disagreed, but then she admitted she hadn't changed and felt little remorse regarding the affair. They seemed to conclude that divorce may be a valid option. They expressed doubts about whether she genuinely considered herself a Christian or if she was saved. A friend of hers asked her to list the reasons she wished to avoid divorce. It would damage my reputation, I would need to relocate, my family would probably disown me, and I want to see where my husband is in a few years. I have been sleeping on the couch. She has invited me back to the bed, but she feels like a stranger. She attempted to engage in sexual relations with me again, but it felt like what I imagine a one-night stand would be like, lacking love, just half-hearted actions. Neither of us was satisfied. I cannot afford to kick her out of the apartment because she contributes to the rent. We chose a larger apartment because she preferred it over a smaller one we could afford more easily. But I will be able to do so after saving for another month. That was on Wednesday. She claims to have profoundly changed since our conversation on that day. Suddenly, she has become the perfect wife-loving, cuddly, supportive, and cheerful. She asserts that she has seen the errors of her previous behavior. I do not trust this transformation, but I feel weak. As I am typing this, we spoke on the phone. She continues to behave as the perfect wife, expressing significant remorse about the affair. When I asked her about it, she said, "I regret my actions." We continued our conversation. She does not care about the years of unkindness. She is focused on this one major mistake that she feels has invalidated her entire stance. I am uncertain about what to do. God disapproves of divorce, but this situation is intolerable. I would appreciate any advice, but please attempt to view things from her perspective, even if I may have poorly articulated it. I would hate to treat her unfairly. Summary. I filed for divorce on Monday and have 61 days, 57 now, to either reconcile with my wife or conclude it. She has been unkind to me for 3.5 years, but I have not been the best partner either. Recently, she had an affair, but they did not engage in sexual relations. Everyone around me is advising me to leave, yet I do not hate her, making it difficult. She does not want me to leave, at least not at this moment. Story 2. After rekindling with my ex, I felt her warmth and affection when we were together. But silences can last for days, and my anxious attachment style struggles to cope. I'm left wondering if daily connection is too much to ask or if I'm just setting myself up for heartbreak. Can this dynamic work? About 3 months ago, I reignited my relationship with my former partner. We previously dated for 2 months, but ended due to my anxious attachment style and my tendency to be overly clingy, while she needed 24 to 48 hours of space away from all forms of communication to recharge after dates. Although she was the one who initiated the breakup, 2 weeks later, she reached out to reconnect. We gradually began seeing each other again. What started as a potential friends with benefits arrangement has quickly evolved into something that feels much deeper, resembling a true relationship once more. The positive aspects. When we are together in person, it is wonderful. She is emotionally warm, affectionate, attentive, and cuddly, all things I could desire. She recognizes that our relationship is more of a situationship than just friends with benefits, acknowledges that our intimate moments together are dates, recently echoed "I love you" during an intimate encounter, and uses pet names like babe more freely now. We have begun attending a weekly sewing class together, which has become a consistent highlight in our week. We do not always have private time together each week due to her energy levels or busy schedule, but currently, it has provided a great opportunity for hangouts that typically lead to intimate days at her place. She does not have notifications enabled for Discord or text messages, but she has been more mindful recently. Sometimes she leaves heart reactions on messages or sends a funny meme, drawing, or picture of her cats, which is new for her and indicates she is considering what I have expressed as important, even if it does not happen nearly as consistently as I would prefer, at least once per day. She invited me to accompany her on the bus recently, a small gesture but meaningful, particularly since our last hangout ended somewhat awkwardly. The challenging aspects. Mel does not particularly enjoy texting, and we do not call each other because of her job as a receptionist, which makes her feel as though she is still at work. She is incredibly present with whomever she is with in person, but over messages, she can disappear for a day or two, even when I have sent heartfelt messages or casual check-ins. She mentioned that this is her norm with everyone and that it is not personal. However, due to my anxious attachment style and the fact that I work from home with a small social circle, these periods of silence affect me profoundly. We have had light discussions about this. I informed her that little check-ins, heart reactions, or thinking of you texts are very meaningful to me, and she has made an effort in her own way to meet my needs. Still, she occasionally retreats into days-long silences, even when everything between us appears to be going well. After our last sleepover, which ended awkwardly, she acknowledged my apology message with a heart reaction, chose not to elaborate on it, and then changed the subject entirely, merely reacting to my apology and moving on as if the incident had never occurred. Mel tends to shut down and withdraw during conflicts, preferring to self-soothe on her own. Meanwhile, I strive to resolve and mend every minor issue we encounter and become overwhelmed by overanalyzing matters when I have no opportunity to discuss them with her. Where I am struggling. I often feel as though I am balancing on a tightrope between granting her space and needing reassurance. I do not want to overwhelm her or bring up my emotional needs too frequently for fear of driving her away, especially since she has previously ended our relationship for being overwhelmed. I do not want to resent the fact that I am doing so much emotional labor in trying to be perfectly patient, Available, supportive, yet distant. I have not contacted her in the past 2 days following a good morning text that received no reply or reaction. I want to hear from her, but do not wish to pressure her. I eventually want to ask her to become my girlfriend again, but I cannot ignore that these issues need to be addressed first before we take that leap again together. I am sure she feels the same way. My questions. One is what I am requesting, a little daily connection through messages, whether just a check-in or a heart reaction, truly too much given this unique situation. I do not want a general response of if she wanted to, she would. This is a complex situation that likely has a more nuanced answer. Two, should I bring this up again the next time we have a private moment, or should I let actions speak louder than words? Three, is this relationship dynamic typical for individuals who are wired differently, such as avoidant vs anxious? Or am I setting myself up for heartbreak by waiting? Four, is it acceptable for me to desire intimacy to be consistent, or should I learn to accept these gaps between closeness? Five, how do individuals who do not enjoy texting maintain connection in relationships, especially when hangouts are not weekly? In summary, I, 24 years old male, have rekindled my relationship with my ex, 24 years old female, about 3 months ago. We are exceptionally close, in person, affectionate, emotionally present, and even expressing love again. But she struggles with consistent communication over text, often disappearing for days without responding. I have an anxious attachment style and value small daily check-ins, which I have communicated lightly. She has made small efforts, but I continue to struggle with the silence and am uncertain if this dynamic is sustainable or fair. I am seeking advice on how to cope with this situation or whether I should accept it as our rhythm.